Hello, welcome to Andertons TV. My name is Jack Duxbury. We've got Oz behind the camera. And all the way from Darlington, we've got the very fabulous
Paul Thurkettle.
Thanks so much for being here, Paul.
Hey, first of all, Jack, it's great to see you.
Oh, thank you,
I've
mate.
watched lots of your videos. The infamous Jack, everyone.
No,
wow.
The cack-handed Jack, there we go. But you watched it and thought, I should come in and demo. And what have you come in to talk about today?
So here we've got the Yamaha CLP 875 from Yamaha. What an incredible musical instrument, what an incredible piano. And I think what we really want to talk about today, Jack, is why this instrument would be so good for, well, literally anyone, from beginner to professional. It really is an awesome instrument. Should we have a listen to it?
Oh yeah, but he's a killing player, so check this out.
Here we go. With a real drummer.
Ah! So, I would never. It's so nice to hear someone demo the full capabilities of an instrument with the drums. Yeah, tell us what's going on there.
You know what? Let's start at the beginning. From the very second you press a key to the second that you hear the sound, there's an awful lot going on. So let's have a look at this.
Yeah.
First of all, I think when you're looking to buy a piano, there's kind of four things that you really need to think about, right? First of all, what does it look like? Well, the cabinet, the instrument itself, I mean, it looks amazing. It's going to look great in any room. Whatever you decor, it's going to look fantastic. So let's check that one. Second of all, probably the most important thing, actually, what does it feel like? We'll talk about that. Of course, what does it sound like? That's really important, right? And also, what features does it have? What does it do? How is it going to help you become a better player? So let's tackle those four things. We've talked about the cabinet. Check that box. It comes in lots of different finishes and colours. Action. Or for those people that don't know what an action is, if you were to look at a real acoustic piano, it has kind of mechanics inside. So when you press a key, there's a lot going on. It throws a hammer at the string vibrates and makes a sound. So this is a digital instrument. So first of all, a digital instrument doesn't have any strings. It doesn't have a soundboard. So first of all, it's really lightweight. You can move it around the house. You know, when you want to get the vacuum in behind, you can do all of that. That's important. But there's no maintenance to it. You don't have to tune it. It doesn't matter kind of where you put it in the house. So temperature and humidity doesn't matter, which of course is really important if you have an acoustic instrument. So we don't have any of that.
No.
It's always perfectly in tune, unless I'm playing it sometimes.
No. In the early days, did you ever have customers phone up and say, I need to book a tuning?
Yes.
Yeah, when they first came in?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
in fact, some still do.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to tune it.
Definitely.
You can tune it if you like. We have a feature that you can tune the instrument, but no maintenance is required. Yeah. So let's tackle the number one priority. Really, is what it feels like. So on CLP 875, we have a Grand Touch keyboard. And what that means is we've replicated the feel of an acoustic instrument perfectly, down to the finest detail. So even the finest touch will define who the player is. You know, when we play a musical instrument, it's the player that defines what the sound is going to be like. It's your input that makes the sound, right? So on a CLP 875, the keyboard action is perfect in the sense that it doesn't matter how you play it, it will respond in exactly the same way as an acoustic grand piano. And that's important because many people look at pianos and they think upright pianos is a piano, right? And yeah, of course it is, it's a piano. But there's a big difference between a grand piano and an upright piano. And the difference is, one, of course, the sound, because the sound is compromised because the cabinet is smaller, the strings are shorter. But also the keyboard action changes because you've gone from an action that moves that way to an action that moves that way. So actually, I'll give you a fact, Jack. A grand piano, you can reiterate or trill a note up to 14 times a second if you're good enough.
Right.
On an upright piano, you can only trill the note 7 times a second. So it's half as slow as a concert grand or a grand piano. So all of Yamaha pianos, actually bar one, but all of Yamaha pianos are based on that of a grand piano. So the action is a grand piano. It's graded, which means it's heavier at the bottom and it progressively gets lighter. And in the 875, we actually have what we call linear grading, which means every key is actually weighted separately, as opposed to done in sections.
That's progression, yeah.
So every key is weighted separately. So you know what, Jack? We're that close to that of an acoustic grand. So let's tick that box.
Yeah.
The action is perfect. So for anyone who's kind of got kids coming home from school or their music lessons saying, you know, the piano teacher says, I need a new piano. It needs to be 88 notes. It needs to be weighted. Tick the box. 875 is the perfect piano choice for anyone. Sound. I mean, that's a big thing, right? Yeah, it's got to, it doesn't matter what the action feels like or what the cabinet looks like. If it doesn't sound very good, then you've got a problem. Yamaha is renowned for their sound. We make the real acoustic instruments.
Which is such a, yeah.
Absolutely.
You're winning.
And you know, that goes back to the 1800s. Yamaha made their first piano in 1800. So I would think it's true to say that Yamaha know a little bit about making pianos. So the people who have a hand in making our acoustic instruments, of course, have a hand in what our digital instruments feel and sound like. When it comes to sound, we can look across to the left-hand side. We have a panel. I know you can't see it at the minute, but this is a touch sensor panel. So if we just tap it, there is the panel. Nice. And you can see the grey area there, it says CFX Grand. So when I tap that, we've selected, and that's its default voice. So when you switch it on, this is what you get. We have CFX Grand. What is a CFX? Well, let me tell you, it's Yamaha's top-of-the-range concert grand. And if you want one of them, Jack, I'm your man.
Trade plus that.
150,000 quid.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, people don't really realise how much money acoustic pianos cost. In fairness,
I've never even thought about it anymore. It's so out of touch.
If you think about this, you know, grand pianos kind of came about over 300 years ago. And when the market kind of heard these things, they thought, oh yeah, we want a piano. But of course, there was 3 problems. One, a grand piano is too big. I mean, a CFX is 9 foot long. It's massive. And because it's massive, it's all about the resonance of the cabinet. So it's too big, but it's also very loud. You don't really want that in your front room, even if you can fit it in. But of course, as we've just said, it costs a lot of money. £150,000 for a CFX. So 300 years ago, they thought, hang on, let's invent something that we can fit in your front room. So they took the grand piano and they kind of did that with it, kind of chopped it in half, and hey, your upright piano was invented. And of course, the market took off. Everybody bought upright pianos. But for what we talked about earlier, it's a compromise because it doesn't sound the same because the cabinets got smaller, and it doesn't feel the same because the action has moved from there to there. So it's always a compromise. Don't get me wrong, Jack, we make some incredible acoustic upright pianos. But generally, an acoustic upright piano is a compromise on a grand. Roll forward to today, and the right instrument is still a grand. You still want to buy that concert grand.
Yeah. Money not being an object.
Not being an object. But we've still got those 3 problems. Most people. I have anyway.
Yeah.
It's too big, it's very loud, and it costs a lot of money. So we still have to compromise. So do we compromise by buying an upright acoustic with the problems that we've talked about? Or do we now compromise by buying a digital? But based on what we've talked about, the digital piano is not an upright.
There's an argument to say there's more features from the grand in this.
This is
I
a
like
concert
that. I've never
grand.
thought of it that way.
It feels like a grand and it sounds like a grand. Here is CFX. We've recorded CFX in the finest detail. Not just the sound of CFX, but as I said, from the second you press the key, we have something called grand expression modeling, which takes the expression of the player, and it's a little bit like an artist's palette. Imagine you have an artist that's painting a landscape of, trees. It's green, right? Well, wrong, because it's not just green, is it? It's a million colours of green, so he has to kind of mix the paint. If you then translate that into music, that's what a player is doing when they play the piano. There's many, many different shades. So grand expression modelling actually looks at what the player's input is, and it determines what an acoustic grand piano would sound like. Of course, now using the new sound chip on board CLP 800 series, the sound is as best as we've ever had. Then that goes to something called grand acoustic imaging, and that is the sound of the instrument. I'm sure we'll have a look at the speaker system a little bit later on. Nice. But let's first of all have a listen to CFX. This is CFX Concert Grand. And you can hear all of that resonance going on. Talking of resonance, when we talked about the 9-foot cabinet, that's what gives an instrument its resonance. All of that has been put into the CLP 875. We call it VRM, Virtual Resonance Modelling. And I hope you can hear this at home, but just to do a little experiment, if I was to play, for instance, middle C, without the damper pedal, and a damper pedal is the sustain pedal, so it lifts the dampers off the strings and allows the string to sustain. Take your foot off, and the string stops vibrating because the damper comes down.
Right.
Okay. So if I was just to play that middle C by itself, I'm just going to hit it pretty hard. All you're going to hear is that hammer hitting the string and producing that one note. Yeah. Now, if I was to hold down some other notes, so they're now silent, but on an acoustic instrument, those dampers on the strings are now off. Now when I hit that C, I'm not just going to hear that note, I'm also going to hear these notes. Have a listen.
The overtones of that note, those
overtones.
Open strings. Cool.
Absolutely. Now, if you think about that, when you're playing...
It's too much to think about.
Billions and billions and billions of combinations.
And that nuance is what we like the sound of, right?
So that's why the instrument sounds so realistic. It sounds so real and warm, because we have a technology called VRM, Virtual Resonance Modelling. So when I'm playing, I can hear all of the notes kind of reverberating in sympathy with each other. It's really incredible.
It's so much better than it used to be. It's like, oh my goodness, that was...
Well, you're absolutely right, because way back when you could hear a kind of a piano, let's say on a record or whatever, show my age there now, record. You could hear a piano, and you kind of thought, that's a piano, but it's not real, it's electronic. I can hear that it sounds like a piano, but it's not, there's something not right. Now we have all of this resonance, and that's what was missing from instruments years ago, that we simply didn't have the technology or the memory space to create all of this other stuff that's going on. That's why that sounds so realistic, because we have all of that technology now, VRM and grand acoustic imaging, and grand expression modelling, all of these terms that just make that sound incredible. But that's not all. That is just one piano at 150,000 quid for that particular
well.
This doesn't cost 150,000 quid, let me say, but that piano, that CFX does. But what happens if you wanted to play a different type of music? Well, we have, let's go back to the panel, we have the incredible Bosendorfer. Now this is probably one of the most historic brands of piano in the world, even older than Yamaha. Bosendorfer is an Austrian piano. It's owned by Yamaha. The company is owned by Yamaha. But Bosendorfer is an independent company, if you like, that produces some absolutely incredible products. And they make an instrument called the Bosendorfer Imperial 250, which is their Concert Grand, the equivalent to CFX. But it's a completely different animal. It was designed for a much more intimate audience. Now, I know I played something quite soft and gentle on CFX, which of course you can, but let me play something else on CFX just before we go to Bosendorfer. If you play something quite hot, it was designed for a concert orchestra. It was designed for a pit where it's loud and it says, I'm here. You can hear it. Have a listen.
9 foot.
So it's a big, meaty, really nice, kind of powerful sound, yeah? But let's change to that Bosendorfer, which was designed for a much more kind of intimate audience. Oscar Peterson used to play Bosendorfer, and it's designed for, as I said, a more intimate audience, and it's much warmer, and, well, have a listen. This is beautiful. Listen to that.
Oh, beautiful playing. I think you should carry on.
It's just a stunning sound, really, isn't it? So you've got, it's horses for courses. You've got CFX for your bright and your masterful kind of stuff. You've got your Bosendorfer for maybe your classics and your soft stuff, or even ballads, you know. Lovely, really, really nice. But we talked about upright pianos, right? And there were many famous bands, like the Beatles, that actually recorded on upright pianos. So if you wanted to do maybe something a little bit more poppy, let's say, we have an upright piano. And this is a Yamaha upright, and you can tell the difference straight away. If I just play some bass notes.
Yeah.
Compare it to the Bosendorfer. Completely different animal, right? Upright, Bosendorfer.
And brings to light what you mentioned about the differences in real life, forget, right?
Absolutely. Fantastic. It's just great.
They're way better than the uprights. They always used to be portrayed as some out-of-tune honky-tonk thing.
Yeah.
And now they're actually correct representations of it.
Absolutely.
And Yamaha, I'm glad to see they've done that, because you make, again, the best uprights, I would say, like the standard uprights.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. You talk about honky-tonk, we've got a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
If you want all of that.
Yeah,
we got all of that.
I can't play any of that, so...
No, this is great. It's an out-of-tune, detuned kind of pub piano. We've got it as well. We've even got things like forte pianos. So if you wanted to go back to yesteryear, for instance, Mozart, and all of your greats like Mozart, Chapman, we've got the pianos that they would have played on. So for instance, the Mozart piano, it's much more harpsichordish, because of course the piano was derived from the harpsichord. So when you listen to it, you've got a much more kind of all of that sort of stuff. You've also got the Chopin piano, which is even more kind of on that side of things. So you've got forte pianos. You've also got, if I come down to it, I'm being a bit self-indulgent now, but we've also got things like DX pianos, DX electronic pianos. You'll know more than most, Jack, going back to 1983, the DX7.
Thankfully, because my dad had one.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that makes me feel old. DX7, the most iconic synthesizer ever made in the history of music. Anyone who was anyone had a DX7. And it lives in CLP. We've got this, and you'll recognise the sound straight away. It's beautiful. Really cool, yeah. But something else you can do is we can always, we were talking about this a little bit earlier on, you can layer voices, you can mix voices. You can do it on board the instrument, or we can, if I just whip this out, and many people know what one of these is, it's just an iPhone, or you can use selected Android devices as well, or an iPad. It just so happens that this is what I've got here. You can connect, I'm not connecting at the minute, but you can connect your device to the instrument and use the app called Smart Pianist, and the app will then control the instrument. So it takes over this panel, and I can then control the instrument from the app. So I can change piano voices. I can even...
This looks way cooler than I thought it would do. Like, I think, I haven't seen the Yamaha app. I've only seen Roland. This, give credit to, I don't know if that's coming out on the screen, Oz. Can you see it on the screen?
Not really, no.
It just looks dope. You can probably download it. You don't yourself before you buy the piano, right?
So you can download the app right now.
And just see what that looks like. So don't take my word for it.
It's free.
Download it. Look at it.
Smart Pianist. You can download the app. You can have a look at what it does. Please don't think that you can download the app and use it on another brand, because it doesn't work. The magic is in the piano. The app is the interface, the window into the piano. So you can take over and record. You can do things like you can record. And that's a great thing for students, for people learning to play. Because when you're learning to play, it sounds strange, Jack, and you get this. You're not listening to what you're doing. You're so concentrating on what you're doing. You're not actually listening to it. So record yourself playing, and then play it back and have a listen. Because actually you think, God, that sounded awful. Or, actually that didn't sound too bad.
And I like that fact that, maybe the teacher, like you said, in tuition, the teacher maybe can do the recording for you. It saves you all that gear as well.
Absolutely. And you can, but what's more, the app, get this, will actually score what you've played.
Oh, that's cool.
It will score it. So it will
reinforce that if you're learning to read music.
It will literally score whatever you play. And there are also lessons. I think there's about 303 lessons on board the app that will teach you how to play as well. Talking of teaching you how to play, when you buy a Yamaha instrument at the minute, you will get 3 months subscription to another app which is called Flowkey. Now, the previous app, Smart Pianist, is free. It comes with the instrument, and that's free for life. It's part of the instrument. The Flowkey app, separate app, that is free for 3 months. Yamaha will pay for that for 3 months. After that, you would subscribe to it. But what an app! If you want to learn to play, Flowkey, said in a very northern accent, Flowkey, Flowkey, is brilliant. It's like going to piano college. It will will teach you how to play. It works in conjunction with the piano, so it connects to the instrument.
Nice.
So you can watch the video of the teacher, where his fingers are on the instrument, what notes he's playing, with what fingers. That will then move down to a piece of music, which it all translates down. You can slow it down, you can speed it up, so on and so forth. You can choose right hand, left hand. As I said, it's just like going to piano college.
Awesome.
It is fantastic. And that is free with every Yamaha piano, especially the CLP 875. You'll get that free for 3 months when you register the instrument with Yamaha. Also, when you register the instrument with Yamaha, the instrument comes with a 2-year warranty, but when you register, we'll give you an extra 3 years free.
Sweet.
So you get a 5-year warranty
Nice.
with the instrument.
But they're so robust. Time has told us that these things, like nothing goes comparatively to having an acoustic piano. These are a dream, aren't they?
Why do you think we give you a 5-year warranty?
Yeah, it ain't coming back.
I mean, so to be fair, if you think about an acoustic instrument, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of moving parts.
Oh, yeah.
So there's all sorts to go wrong. Let's be fair. But in a digital instrument, you don't have hammers, you don't have strings. There's very little to go wrong. And to be fair, and I say this, being totally fair to the brand, Yamaha is just a quality instrument. It's renowned.
We do lots
for its
of
quality.
blind testing between it. It always seems to come across as that authentic. One thing, when you said that about teaching, what have we got in terms of 2 people plugging in down? Yeah, we've got 2 headphone outs.
Yep.
Aux in, USB, killer.
Yep.
And you said about the sound. What speakers do we know about?
So yeah, absolutely. So the sound, it's one of the 4 things we was talking about. So the features of the instrument, speaker enclosures, speakers are of course, the instrument's useless without them. So the 800 series, we went right back to the drawing board. And we took an acoustic instrument into what we call an anechoic chamber. Yamaha is one of the very few companies that actually have their own in Japan, an anechoic chamber. Now, you know what an anechoic chamber is, but it's this goddamn awful place.
I've never been in one though.
I've never been in one, but I've colleagues that have been in, and it's awful. Because I've been told that you can literally hear your heart beating in this place. It's soundless. It's completely soundless. So they put the instruments in there so they can really, really finitely control what the sound of our digital instruments are. And they did a huge study on a grand piano. And how does it sound? Where is the sound coming from? Well, on previous instruments, the speakers on the instruments were literally kind of facing flat. So they're pushing the sound directly at you. With 800 series, with the 875, this has grand acoustic imaging. And what that does is it means that the speakers in the instrument are orientated in such a way that the sound is literally coming all around you, as it does in a grand piano. If you think about a grand, it's like this. You're playing the notes, the strings vibrate, the soundboard pushes the sound up, and you have a lid on a grand piano. So the sound bounces off the lid. So it's an indirect sound. So that's exactly what we've done with CLP 875. On the instrument, we have what we call a 3-way speaker system. So there's 3 speakers to the left, there's 3 speakers to the right, top speakers at the top, and you can see a kind of a grill along the front here. We have bi-directional horns in the top. And it's really interesting to see that when you get delivery of the instrument, you would normally place the instrument up against a wall. I know we haven't got it in here because we're in the studio, but you would put it against a wall. So at the back of the instrument, we also have grills so that the sound is coming not just out of the front, but it's also going out of the back, and it is reflected off the wall, just like it is on a piano where it's reflected off the lid. So the sound is an indirect sound, it's a reflected sound. We have mid speakers and we have an incredible bass unit underneath that just creates, and you can witness this because you're here. I think one of the great things to do is to come into the store and listen to it if you possibly can. Just have a listen to the thing, and it's all in proportion. So when you're playing it, the sound at the bass end is coming kind of from over here, the sound at the top end is kind of coming from over there. And it's incredible to think that it's not kind of in your face, it's spatial. And that's all to do with what we talked about before. From the second you press a key, we go to all of those things that we talked about, to the point where it comes out of the speakers. Grand acoustic imaging allows you to hear the sound as if it was an acoustic grand piano. And I think that's stunning. If you want to stop that, and this is another benefit for digital, imagine your house is a very busy place, right? So you've got, dad doing something, you've got mum doing something, you've got siblings, brothers and sisters doing something, and you're there bashing out your tune on the piano. And of course, learning to play the piano is all about making mistakes. It's all about repetition, because you're learning to play your scales or whatever you're doing. And of course, to other family members, that can be a bit annoying.
Yeah.
So to be able to make that silent, so practice in silence, is one of the benefits of digital instruments. So we have 2 headphone jacks. So if you have a teacher coming around to your house, or let's say me and you wanted to jam away on the piano but not disturb anybody else, 2 headphone jacks. But typical Yamaha, it's not just a normal headphone jack. Well, it is. You just plug a set of headphones in. But when I mean it's not just a normal sound, we actually have a technology called binaural sampling. And what that means is we've talked about, how this instrument was recorded and anechoic chambers and all the rest of it. But what we found was when you put a set of headphones on, and this might sound a bit strange, but the sound in the headphones is obviously, it's coming from here.
Yeah, that's it.
And the problem with that we found through research was your ears get fatigued quite quickly. The net result of that, Jack, is you play for 5-10 minutes and you naturally just want to take the headphones off. You think, I've finished, I've had enough. But that's because your ears are telling you, that's enough, I'm tired. So Yamaha developed another technology called binaural sampling, where we've actually sampled the acoustic instrument again, but from a completely different position. So we've took a mannequin and we placed the mannequin at the front of the piano, kind of where I'm sat. Mm-hmm. People often say I'm a bit of a dummy. But I'm sat at the front of the piano. They've put very specialised microphones in its ears, and they've recorded everything again.
And that comes out of the headphone out?
It comes out the headphone. There's no buttons.
What?
There's no on and off switch, so you don't have to do anything. You just...
So you're almost hearing a different set of samples, you're saying, through that makes a lot of sense.
You've got to try it. You just plug your headphones in, put your headphones on, and the sound ain't here.
Because we used to sell open-backed headphones for that same reason. Because you'd be like, look, the only way to mitigate that was to buy more and more open headphones. Yeah. But you've actually addressed it at source. That's cool.
And that works for both CFX and Bosendorfer.
Nice.
On the 875. Which, you know what? And it tricks people. Because you put the headphones on, you start playing, and you can see people, they're kind of thinking, have I plugged them in?
Yeah.
Because they think the piano's actually just in the room. You got to try it. You got to try it.
Yeah, well, that's really fantastic.
So to sum up, Jack, as we said, from the second that you press the key, the action, the grand touch action, is perfect. Linear grading. We've got synthetic ebony and synthetic ivory keys, so it feels perfect. It sounds perfect. The speaker system, the grand acoustic imaging, the grand acoustic grand expression modelling, all of that coupled with the pedal. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, that's right.
The pedal. On the 875, we have a GP response pedal. Now, every piano has got a damper pedal, a sustain pedal, right? But most of them work in kind of a very basic way. They're like an on-off switch, yeah? Or, in fairness, our instruments have a off, halfway on, yeah? But even that's not quite accurate, because on an acoustic grand, the dampers aren't just on and off. They kind of peel off the strings, so you have a huge amount of ability to create different tones with the pedal. So in 875, we have GP response, and that means, think of a light switch. It's the easiest way to think about it. Instead of just being an on-off switch with a halfway point, we now have, think of a dimmer switch. You have full control of how that sustain will sound. So all of that coupled together leads to one more really important point. And that is, it's okay talking about the touch and how it feels. That's important. It's okay talking about the sound and how it sounds. But the real magic of 800 series is how it marries those two things together. And the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about with digital instruments is the actual behaviour of the instrument, how it behaves when you play it, the reaction that you get from it. And we've had some sensational players using 800 series to gauge their what they think. How does it feel? How does it sound? and we've actually compared it to a concert grand. So we've had them sit and play a concert grand and then sit and play this.
Yeah.
And the remarks are kind of, really? Wow. How does that? How do you do that? Because we're so close. And that's not just because of the individual facts of the instrument, but it's how we've been able to marry up the behaviour of how it actually feels and the input of the instrumentalist or the player and how that sound is emitted. And you know what? Full marks to you. I know I work for Yamaha, so I'm bound to say this, but I've got to say full marks to Yamaha, our design team, because they've really hit the nail on the head. The CLP 875 is everyone's perfect piano, not just for the beginner, because please remember that anyone starting to play, it's not just about today, it's about all of the tomorrows. And you can buy a piano that maybe costs less, but by the time you get so far through your training, or even if it's just for, if you're just playing it for fun, it'll get to a point where the instrument can't do what you want it to do. The 875 is equipped so that it will take you all the way. You can, from a complete beginner, all the way through to a consummate, professional, a real great player. 875 will do it. It's perfect.
There is a lot of fresh tech in there that I didn't know existed.
No,
and I think one of the most telling bits, thank you so much for explaining all that. One of the most telling bits is when you demonstrated the key resonance and you tried to play 3 notes without making a noise, but they made a noise because of the sensitivity.
Yeah.
That level of recognising your touch, that hasn't been around and is pretty new.
And you can also play the key without making a sound.
But you've got to be really careful. Like before, that was
as you would on an acoustic instrument. Yeah.
And I'm guilty. Yeah, if anyone's seen my videos before, I'm guilty of sometimes lobbing these all in and being like, "Oh, it's another wooden piano." But thanks so much for letting us know that the innovation that's been going on in there. Would you do us the honour of just playing? Some of you, we're going to make sure you get another. Do you want another coffee?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we'll get another coffee. And
great coffee, by the way, guys. Great coffee.
And then we'll just play us out. Thanks so much, Paul, and thanks so much for watching. And links below. And remember, more importantly, we've got all of these out in the store, so you can come and test it out for yourself.
Great.
Thank you, mate.
Good to see you, Jack.
Yeah, you too.